So I want to believe everyone can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right. Aminat.
Yeah, thank you, Princess. Hi, everyone. So my name is Mina Tamo. I'm the Finance and Compliance Manager at Spurs. I know you guys are like, we're actually expecting Kristen Wilson to be here to take you on this topic for today's workshop, getting ahead with effective business budgeting. Well, I'll be doing that on her behalf, pending the time she joins us on this call. I'm so, Princess, please, the next slide. Oh, Kristen is here. Okay. Please, Princess, the next slide. Okay, so first, before we proceed, I would like every one of us here to introduce ourselves. Like, so I want to meet everyone. So basically, you'll be giving me, you can actually drop in the chat box your name, your industry, your company name, if applicable, then a one-liner description of your company's position. You can do that while we proceed because of time. Really like to meet a lot of people here. Can we start with that first? Princess, in the meantime, while people do that, we can actually move to the next slide. I hope you all got this part of the slide. Okay, so before I go deep into our conversation for today, like I said, I'm Aminat. I'm the finance and compliance manager at Spurs. I would like to just do a brief introduction of Spurs and what we do. So basically, Spurs is a dynamic consortium of professionals, and we are keen to collaborate with African entrepreneurs to build more efficient, productive, and strategic businesses. We actually founded in 2019, and our practice basically is focused on the deployment of technology, human-centered design thinking, and data analytics for business growth and expansion. So recently, Sprott, we just launched one of our tool. Before that, we actually have 4 verticals. We have like solutions, which is actually a business advisory arm. We have Paperclip. We have Made-in. Basically, we use it to provide reviews to FMCG products. So if you have a product here or something that you want people to know about, we can actually do that for you via Made-in. Then we also have the last one, which is the technology arm, SpotX. And on that SpotX, we have a product called Sync. And Sync this product we recently launched, and we are currently in public beta. So Sync is actually a SaaS digital workspace built by Spurs for remote business teams and freelancers, employers, individuals, and basically in emerging markets. So the platform is actually providing end-to-end solutions to small business in emerging markets. So with Sync, you can actually do a lot with Sync. You can actually do project management, tax management, effective team communication, where we have MSMEs that will have projects, and freelancers or individuals can actually come on board and then enroll on the platform. They can have access to multiple projects, execute. Even on Sync, you can actually you can also monitor and track your projects, and as well as get paid based on milestones. So different talents whatsoever can actually come on Sync, sign up on Sync, have access to projects. So it's basically for business owners and individuals, even employers, probably people that man the digital workspace can actually come on Sync, and do a lot of team bonding, team building activities, just basically to enhance growth and development at large. So back to the main topic, or the main reason why we are here. So I'll be discussing. So first, the ground rules for this is that I'll be really glad if we all listen attentively, because I believe we would actually get a whole lot from this. Also, ask questions if you have questions to ask. Then open-minded and honest. Then we also want active contributors here. Please, let's the next slide. So, like I mentioned, I'm Aminat, and this is my face. I'm sorry I can't actually show my face physically right now because of the space, and of course you can't even see my face because it's quite dark. Apologies, please. And also equal facility to somewhere around here. Princess, to the next slide, please. So, getting hired with effective business budgeting, which of course we cover more about business budgeting, which includes the importance of creating a business budget, key components of budgets, effectiveness and business budgets, how you can set goals, strategies, measures, and targets as well as personal budgets. Oh, sure, Christine, you can. You can introduce yourself.
Oh, hi everyone. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
Kristen. Yeah, Kristen, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Hi everyone. It's good to be here. And like Aminat shared, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited for all of us to be here together, and I thought it would be good for Aminat and I to do this session together because Aminat is really our chief manager of our finances, and I thought that like her firsthand experience would make this the most useful way to manage the session. So excited to be here and make this session as practical as possible for you all. Thanks so much. Over to you, Aminat.
All right, thank you, Christine. Okay, so before we get down, right, so of course, for the purpose of this entire this workshop, we'll be covering what is a business budget, creating an effective business budget, components of a budget. Before we get down to the main course, Princess, you can actually move to the next slide. Before we get down to the main course for today, I want every one of us to feel engaged, like Kristen mentioned, and I want to hear from you, and also I want this to be engaging as possible. So feel free to pen or type or key in your opinion in the chat box. Then, to listen to you and then answer your questions and look at whatever it is that you have to table. So what is the business? So this is it. Like I mentioned, I want us to feel really, really engaged. So at this point, junction, I want every one of us to like put down what we do in the chat box. Then also, I also have another question. Do you build budgets? And if yes, why do you feel the need to build a budget? Let's see answers before we get started. Let's engage. Let's see answers. So what do you do? So if you are probably maybe a freelancer or you own a business or you have a business idea, just put anything in the chat box. And also, if you actually intend like setting up a new business for the very first time or something like that, of course, you definitely want to think of building a budget. So tell us if you've started building a budget, and if yes, why do you feel the need to build a budget? I think we can give that 5 minutes. Yeah. So let's see. Let's get the answers rolling in, please. Veronica Elijah, Creative Director at Shop Feather, Gates Expansion Accessory Store in Lagos. Awesome. Nice to meet you, Veronica. I'm not seeing answers. Please, let's engage everyone, please. I just want this thing to be as engaging and exciting as possible. Please, let's make this fun. Considering the fact that we have limited time. Can anyone hear me?
Hi, Aminat.
So does this mean, hi.
It's Godwin. With
Okay,
the
hi,
economics here.
Godwin.
Yeah, so your
All
voice
right.
is a bit hollow. It's like you're in an empty space.
Oh, okay, so sorry.
Yeah, it's
I
not.
just, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's much better now.
Right. I don't know, let me take it again. So I want every one of us to engage properly, and I want the session to be as exciting, to be really exciting. So before we commence fully, I just want every one of us like to answer these questions. What do we do? And of course, do we build budgets? And if yes, do we feel the need to build why do we feel the need to build a budget?
Do you need anyone to come on the mic to respond?
I
I see
don't,
people already.
it's fine, they can.
Okay, so if
Just
anyone wants to speak, you can use the hand raise icon and we'll bring you up to the mic to speak if you are not in a mood to type, so you can also speak.
well, anyways, because of time, right? Let me just assume we probably don't build budgets or I don't know, but I guess we would learn a lot of this. Okay, I think I'm seeing responses here from Taiwo Adeni, People Operations Lead with the Financial Services Firm. Yes, I build a budget to plan financially, so I'm not overspending. Awesome, great. Nice one, Taiwo. Then we also have from Princess Dubai. I create budgets occasionally. I feel the need to create a budget so I can easily track my finances and stay on track with my spending. That's great. Awesome. Okay, thanks everyone. So please, to the next slide, please. So awesome answers so far. So let's actually dive into the main business, of course. Don't be scared, you're actually not going to drown. So here we have a business budget is a spending plan for your business based on your income and expenses. It identifies your available capital, estimates your spending, and helps you predict revenue. For business owners, executives, and managers, budgeting is a key skill for ensuring organizations and teams have the resources to execute initiatives and reach goals. But for me, like oftentimes, right, whenever I discuss budgets, I try as much as possible not to leave out these keywords. And these keywords are they're basically 5 keywords: strategic, effective, quantitative, plan, period, or time. Strategic, effective, quantitative, plan, period, or time. And because I believe those words or pointers are those things that make building a budget a big deal. Because of these keywords, right, I would oftentimes, like, if someone reaches out to me to ask me, okay, what's a budget? I harmonize all of these keywords, to define what a budget is, so that when anybody is listening to this definition, they're able to understand and get a very strong grasp of what budget is all about. So what I do basically is that, okay, because I mentioned earlier that there are 5 keywords that I take cognizance of whenever I'm talking about budgets: strategic, effective, quantitative, plan, period, and time. So I say a budget is a strategic and effective quantitative plan that is used to estimate or project future activities, which are income, revenue, as well as expenses for a stipulated period or a time frame. So at least from that definition, you can see that I didn't leave out any of these 5 keywords that I earlier mentioned. So what is the essence of actually building a budget without strategy? It really doesn't speak well or make sense. So it's actually very important that, because strategy is a hard work itself. It explains how your goals will be achieved with available resources, that is available resources that you have at your disposal. So the budget requires some level of strategic thinking. So it requires you to put even your 6th sense. Don't just build budget out of the air. You understand? Sit down and strategize properly to build a budget. That's the reason why I said whenever anybody walks up to me to ask me what budget is all about, I try as much as possible to put that word strategic Then a budget must be a working item, which is where effective or effectiveness comes to play. So you cannot just build a dormant budget or an inactive one. Your budget has to be really active because such activeness drives your business. You understand? It even drives you as a person, you managing the budget. So it's actually very important that you build a very effective budget. Then another point that I made is quantitative. Budgets are expressed in numbers, and in fact, it should be smart. Smart, and when I mean smart, I mean SMERT. Smart, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So it's actually very important to put that into consideration when you're thinking about the quantitative part of the budget. So that's the point 3. You can see that I'm analyzing this with all of these key points that I mentioned earlier. Then also, I said a budget, I mentioned plan. The plan is the budget itself. Budget is the plan. It's like, so the plan is the blueprint of your business or whatsoever you want to attain. But for you to have this plan, you need to have thought strategically. So you need to have thought strategically. You need to, have at the back of your mind that you want to budget, you want the budget to be very effective. So you can see. So the plan itself is the budget. Like I mentioned earlier, really emphasis on that. I mentioned 5 key points. A budget must be strategic, effective, quantitative. It must also have the word plan, and it must be time-bound, period and time. So the plan itself is the budget, because the budget is a plan. So like I mentioned, it's actually a blueprint of the kind of business you want to set or the goals you want to attain. So if you want, so having at the back of your mind that that you want your budget to be very effective, you need to understand that you must express quantitative terms. So that's that aspect. And of course, the last part of the keywords that I mentioned is time. And already this is actually embedded in the SMART concepts that I mentioned earlier. A budget should be time bound. Of course, you cannot just set budgets to infinity without necessarily like having a time bound. You're setting budget because you want to achieve something at a particular point in time, just to achieve desired goals and objectives. So it's actually very important that you put like a time, or you attach a time to your budgets. Princess, please, next slide. So why is the budget important? So what are the importance of budgets, of a business budget, or importance of setting a budget? Sorry. There are many reasons why it is important for entrepreneurs to have a business budget. Number one is that excuse me. So number one is that it helps a company guide their action plans and keep an eye on company's objectives. Do you understand? So when you set your budget, it gives you, it sets your path straight. So it gives you, like I said, a budget is a blueprint. So it allows you to understand your objectives. It gives you this clear path. You're even able to like interpret and understand your objectives very well. So with the budget, you can even easily understand where you are getting it wrong, what exactly you need to do, what are the things that you need to plot to get it right. So that is actually one importance of the budget. So budget also helps businesses achieve financial goals over the short and long term. Of course, if you're very intentional about your budget or your budget, it can actually help you to achieve short-term and in fact long-term financial goals. With your budget, if you follow it judiciously, it can actually help you to attain even goals that you might even feel like might be very like goals that you feel that are difficult or not easy to attain. With budget, you can efficiently track and manage your business debts. Yeah, you'll be wondering, okay, how can I manage my business debts? One of the things you're putting on your budget is, okay, what are these people that I'm owing? Okay, let me itemize all of these things on my budget. And then you also put the time in, like for example, you can even introduce a Gantt chart to your budget. So let me put my time in, okay, by this time, I need to settle this person, I need to settle that person. So budget allows you to understand or to effectively track and manage your business budget. And that is your business debts. And that is where, what do they call this? settlement period comes in, basically with payables. I don't know if anyone, if you talk, like you can ask questions anyways, like with payables are basically what, like people that, like your creditors, the people you are owing. So you can easily track, settlement period. Okay, from this period to this period, I'm owing this people, and by this particular time, I want to settle. At that point, you're able to see, you're able to know how much comes in at this point in time, how much you pay, and how much balance you have left. Offer a clear way to track and manage cash flow, which is a lifeline of any business. And you would have always heard of this, that cash flow is a lifeblood of a nation, is a lifeblood of a business. Without cash, the business is definitely going to, crumble. You understand? So without cash, so your budget helps you to understand your cash. It helps you to understand cash movements. It helps you to understand how much cash is coming, maybe actually will be coming in from your operations, how much cash will be coming in from probably maybe lending from a bank or financial institution, how much cash you have left to run, and all of those things. And this is where I'll take you to runway. So with your budget, you can easily ascertain how much runway you have. What is a runway? A runway basically is the amount of cash that you would have left to run your business. So you can actually determine your runway from your burn rates. So burn rate is the amount of cash that you consume. Or let's just say for a 5 months period, you'll be consistently spending like about 5,000 naira for 5 months period. Your average for burn rate for like 5 months is 5,000 naira. That's the average burn rate you spend on a monthly basis, right? So to determine your runway, so you can actually use your available cash, the available cash that you have available, like that you have at hand or in the bank, to determine, okay, since I spent 5,000 naira monthly, and you've done your budget, you've done other things, you've put into consideration contingencies, miscellaneous, and all of those things, you can easily determine that, okay, the bank money I have, or the cash flow that I have, or what I'll be expecting can actually take me for another 1 year, another 15 months, another 20 months. So your budget helps you, it gives you an insight towards the future, what to expect, so that you're able to prepare for any sort of for any uncertainty. Can also be used to obtain business loans from banks or other financial institutions. Yeah, and this takes us to the financial modeling part. Financial modeling is also like a type of budget, but it's actually a more complex type of budget, and because it basically requires some kind of like technical knowledge with using Excel, knowing how to manipulate numbers, knowing how to analyze, deep analytical thinking, and all of those things. So with your budget, of course, if you want to probably maybe set up a new business, your bank will ask you for a feasibility report. They will ask you for example, maybe a 5-year cash flow statement, just basically to see, to be able to plug your financials and to understand where exactly you're expecting money from, within what time frame will this money come into the business, and all of those things. So budgets can also help you to obtain business loans if properly built and if done strategically. So if you put all of this key factors that I mentioned here, if you put all of these things into consideration, you can actually build your budget and a very effective budget that that would serve you and help you achieve long-term business objectives. This next slide. So we'll be talking now on creating an effective business budget. And here there's also another exercise for us, because I know that we have different budgeting tools. So I would like to.
Okay.
But
I saw
before
that they say that thing that happened to you in UBA, and they say it's very common now. Yes.
Asking a question. No, we would definitely entertain questions after this session. Please, just bear with us. Let's just take this one step at a time. So the next phase.
Aminat, is it okay actually if we just take them as we go along, just because we don't have a lot of time? So I feel like, yeah. So like Mercy's question is really important, and I suspect is one that a lot of people can resonate with. So you build your budget, but then you realize that your budget is not, in line with like the way that inflation is going or sudden shocks. What are some of the measures or things in place that they could have?
Okay, Mercy, thank you for that question. So for that particular question, so there's actually one thing that they call, so when you build your budget, there's actually, you have every chance to review your budget at some point in time. It's just normal, uncertainty will take place, and based on things beyond your control. And that's basically because of some of the environmental factors that, or business factors and basically external factors that you cannot control. For example, legal factors, for example, economic factors, such as like one that you just mentioned here. So at some point in time, when you build your budget, you actually build this based on probably the existing macroeconomic environment, the rates that you had at the point in that point in time. So that's why at every point in time when you build your budget, that's one thing. That's what they call the parts that are called the variance analysis. Maybe at every point in time, it's always very important to like go back to your budget, review the budget properly. You understand? Do your variance analysis, do your checks, and if there's any need for you to review the budget, you understand, to work in line with any existing economic factor. You understand? Then you can actually do that. So there's actually room for you to do that when you build your budget. You can review your budget
So,
in time.
Amina, what's like the interval that you recommend for people to review their budget? And then can you also just like, I guess, what do people do if they're constantly finding that the budget that they set because of the existing macroeconomic conditions just doesn't work? Do they give up on creating a budget, or what do they do? So like, I guess that's number one for me, is like, how often should they be reviewing their budget? I remember when you were talking at the beginning, you were saying that the budget should be a living document, you know, that they can continue to edit. So I guess, what's the frequency that you recommend? And then I guess the question is like, what do you do if you're constantly having to change up the numbers on your budget because the environmental circumstances are changing? So
Okay, so when you build your budget, of course, I would usually, like when people ask that question, some times I usually recommend on a quarterly basis, right? But I also put a disclaimer or a clause to it that it actually depends on the changes that might occur probably in that period in time, and that particular period. Then for when you build your budget initially, like when you establish a budget, it's actually very important that, of course, when you're building your budget, you put on some things, you put macroeconomic situation in place. So, and I always like also say some things that why you do that. So there are sometimes that because of risk and uncertainty, you might also want to create some kind of like some kind of allowance. I know some people might, it's a bit technical, right? But for a layman, or I think we have to like maybe some like finance people here. Sometimes that's why some people use like discounted factors. Basically, discounted factor is actually a factor that they use in case of risk and uncertainty, whereby maybe there will be probably changes in, you understand, changes in probably economic events and all of those things. But for people that might not be really aware or that might not know, because actually kind of like technical aspects of creating budgets, thinking about discounting factor, probably coming up with a discounted factor. So the best thing to do is to try as much as possible when you build your budget initially, build your budget with, make sure that your budget is realistic. That realistic part, to an extent, you know, at that point you put in a lot of things, like you put in okay, what is really happening in the industry. Then you're also putting some like extra allowance, extra gauge for some kind of like economic factors. Probably maybe that's why sometimes you can actually forecast inflation when you're building your budget. Okay, you know that this is the inflationary trend, or maybe in the past 5 years, for example, or inflation has been growing by an average of, let's say, 11%. You know, you can actually use that. You can actually use that to factor in. Okay, building my budget for, let's say like maybe for 3 years, maybe a 3-year budget. You can say that, okay, if for the past 5 years, inflation has been rising by an average of 11%. It means that inflation for the next period might jump to like 18 point something, for the next period might jump to like 20%. Like that, you've kind of like hedged against any sort of like future or uncertain events. I don't know if I've answered that question.
I mean, you have answered the question. I think one of the things I'm curious about is like, where can people go if they want to find this inflationary trend? Like, where can they go? And then I mean, this sounds really complicated. Is this something that people can do by themselves, or is this something that they need an expert for?
They can actually do it by themselves. So, of course, when you go to CBN sites, you definitely get all of this macroeconomic information from CBN sites, and easily, like once you get that, for example, the inflation rates, you can actually get that from that's CBN site. You can download it. Then you look at the trend. For example, they will definitely give you an inflation rate for maybe 2019 and 2020. Then you look at the growth, like of course, deducting your the new from the whole divided by the whole, right, to get the growth. So it means that maybe, so for you to know that, for you to know how the level of growth between year 1 and year 2, you can easily just look at it and then ascertain how much growth that has happened within that period. Then you do that for subsequent years. Then after you can decide to pick a period of 5 years, depending on what's the kind of the analysis or the trend you want to do. Then once you do that, then you can average it to determine what the average growth rate is for a period of 5 years. Then you can actually use that to project for subsequent or like future other you can actually use that to project your budget.
Okay. Thanks, Aminat. I think that's clear, and Mercy agrees that that's clear as well. So if there are any other questions, please keep them coming. But otherwise, let's just keep enjoying Aminat's wonderful presentation.
Yeah, Central Bank of States will give you. And there are also other very interesting sites that you can get a lot of macroeconomic numbers. I think there's a part that is the site of the I'm not really sure, but CBN site is actually one site. It's a short site that where you can actually have access to all of this information at a go. So for the next exercise, right, what tools do you currently use for your business budgeting? I don't mind, you guys can just drop it in the chat box. There is a background noise. So what tools do you currently use for your business budgeting? You guys can actually drop this tool in the chat box. Let's see what you use and what things do you consider when creating your business budgets. What are the things you consider when creating your business budgets? You can also drop your answers there and let's view. But because of time, Princess, let's continue with this and then we can maybe view that later as we progress. Coming to the next slide. I don't know if we have answers to that question. Let's see. Okay, no answer. Okay. But when it comes to different tools to use to budget, right, there are several tools you can actually use to prepare budgets. Number one and most commonly used tools, most commonly used tool that is being used to prepare budgets is the spreadsheets, right? And that's basically like what you all know here as the Excel. It's a very powerful tool. You can actually use it to build your budget. It's flexible and it's pretty straightforward. And of course, there are another method is using applications. There are different organizations now that are they started building tools that you can actually easily use to build your budgets. Basically, if you use these tools to maybe to keep your accounting records. So from that, you can actually use that to estimate your budget for you and then come up with a budget. I think one tool that I know is the Mint, developed by Intuit. I believe Intuit is a company that actually develops QuickBooks. I'm very sure most of you are familiar with QuickBooks. So Mint is actually one tool that you can actually use for your budget, but the easiest and most easily accessible without even having to pay for anything is your spreadsheet, the Excel workbook. You can actually use that to prepare your budgets. Princess, I can't see your screen again. So tips for creating an effective business budget. Of course, you analyze your costs. So it depends on the kind of organization or the business you run. For a highly structured business to have, you know, they basically organize their costs based from different units or departments. So they, of course, maybe the finance unit to reach out, okay, every unit should share their budgets. So every unit they prepare a budget, their budgets like from their unit, like a unit's budgets, and then they give it to the finance units to harmonize to have a single budget for the entity at large. So of course, you have to get all of that, all of those information. Then once you get the information, the next thing is for you to do is to analyze the cost, look at the cost, probably ones you can actually categorize as one, maybe as your printing expenses, as your marketing expenses, as your promotion expenses, as your payroll expenses, and all of that. Then, of course, for you to prepare a budget, you need to know your income. You need to know your sources of income. You need to know where money will be coming from. You need to understand all of those things and how the money will be coming in. So from that, then you estimate your revenue. So if you know that, I have a business, my business has, of course, I generate money from maybe, let's say, a restaurant, I generate money from selling drinks, I generate money from selling foods, I generate money from other things, maybe selling recharge cards, because we have some restaurants that do that. You can actually, and like that, you already know where you're expecting money to come from, and of course, automatically just translates to you knowing where your revenue will be coming from. Then once you're able to ascertain that, of course, you can easily estimate your revenue from historicals. And when I mean historicals, you can estimate your revenue from past events. Past events, okay, last month I did 2,000 in revenue, and of course, trend analysis. So you did 2,000 revenue, but because of the inconsistency, maybe last month you did 2,000, a month before you did 1,000. You can look at the growth, but you can just calculate the average to determine or to forecast how much you can easily do, like the next month. Then you project your cash flow. Of course, there's one thing I always try to teach people, because I know a lot of people, they mix these things up. They always mistake your revenue and cash flow, when it comes to income. So for example, there's a huge difference between cash revenue and cash inflow. So you render a service to a particular client, you issue out a bill to the client of, let's say, 500,000 naira. That bill you issue out to the client is your revenue. You recognize it as your revenue. That's 500,000 naira revenue. The client, now out of 500,000 naira, the client pays you, let's say, 200,000 naira. The 200,000 naira is your cash income. So oftentimes I see people, when the moment this cash comes in, they don't recognize the entire 500,000 as revenue. They recognize the 200,000 naira as their revenue, which is actually wrong. The 200,000 naira is basically cash flow. But the cash flow, there are two sides to cash flow. There's your cash inflow and there's your cash outflow. So it's actually your cash inflow. Cash inflow from where? Now depends. Cash inflow from your receivables and cash inflow from revenue in a nutshell. Don't let me complicate things for you people. Then track your profit and loss, of course. To create your budget, you must be able to use your budget to track your profit and loss. Factor in seasonal and industry trends. Like I said, you can actually tap into existing industry. Sorry, excuse me. You can actually look at performance of industries, similar industries. Like I call this industries proxy industry. For example, for organizations or businesses or people that probably they've never really earned any revenue, or they've never done any kind of operational activities, but then they need to forecast. You can actually use a proxy company. A proxy company basically would be a company that is in similar industry as you. So you can easily use such companies' financials. And of course, you should also put into consideration the company size, because you might you starting up as a very small business. So you look at another proxy company that, of course, is quite larger than yours, but at least it's on that small scale. You can actually use that to project your budget. Then add a safety margin in your budget. Safety margin, and I call it margin of safety. MOS is actually one of the components under the break-even analysis. Safety margin basically helps you to know at what level of revenue should I get that would make me that would push how do I put this? What level of revenue would push me to a loss. So for example, if you can, like, there's a way you can actually set it that maybe you have a revenue, like if you the moment you hit 200,000 naira in revenue, if you go below 200,000 naira, there's every possibility that you are going to make a loss. And how you're wondering how did I know that will make a loss? It's basically from your break-even analysis. Break-even analysis a situation whereby your cost is equivalent to your revenue. So if you have a revenue of 500,000 and the cost, your operational expenses is also 500,000, so that means you won't be making a loss and you'll be making a profit. That means you've broken even at that point in time. But in a situation whereby, so you know that the moment you go below 500, like you spend above 500,000, you're going to make loss. That 500,000 points is like your margin of safety. Don't go below that amount. The moment you go below that amount, the business is actually going to make a loss. So you can actually determine and use your budget when you build a budget, it's always very advisable to, to build that margin of safety into the budget. So it helps you to understand that, it helps you to understand a limit that it controls you. So in a nutshell, it controls your spending habits. It helps you to understand that if I exceed 20 naira, I'm going to have a red in my account, or I'm going to run at a loss. So it's always very important to also put that into consideration. Then plan regular budget review, like I mentioned earlier when I answered Mrs. question. It's always very important because sometimes you'll be running, and I've fallen in that space before, and sincerely, you'll be running above your budget. And that's why we have budgets. That's where variance analysis comes to play, whereby you do a variance analysis that determines whether your budget is favorable or is adverse. So it's always very good to have a favorable budget performance and not an adverse one. So that is why it's very important at every point in time, quarterly.
Sorry, Amina, what's a variance analysis?
So variance analysis is actually used to determine your standard against your actual. Standard in the sense that standard is your budget. So budget is a standard that you set for yourself. I want to do 2,000 naira in revenue. But then at the end of a particular period, maybe you said that by the end of this month, let me see what I have done. So you said that you do 200,000 in the revenue, but then you are doing 90,000 in revenue. It means that it's an adverse performance. You're not doing well. You're not meeting. You don't meet your revenue target. So that's adverse. That's variance analysis. So use variance analysis. It's a tool that's actually used to help to monitor and to assess your budget. Next slide, please. So this is actually the same thing I mentioned in the previous slide. So number one is to analyze costs. Then the next one is to know your income. Then the next thing is to estimate your revenue. Then the next thing is to project cash flow. Then you track your profit or loss. Then then you factor in seasonal and industry trends. Then you add a safety margin in your budget. So basically to guide you, to let you know, it's like a notification system or an alarm that you're 200,000. The moment you exceed 200,000, just know that you're going to run at a loss. So it's like giving you that information in advance. So you have to impute that in your budget. Then of course, plan regular budget review. That actually saves a lot. Plan regular budget review. So if at all whatever it is you casted does not work, the moment you review your budget, of course it keeps on running, like you update it. Review it, and then it helps you to achieve your long-term or your short-term goal. Please, the next slide. So we are looking at next is we are looking at the components of the budget. So the key components of a budget, of business budget, are the estimated revenue, the fixed cost, the variable cost, the one-time expenses, cash flow. Wow. I think we're running out of time already, and profits. So let me just quickly run through. So estimated revenue, like I said, I think is a key point. Please, next slide. So the estimated revenue is the money you expect your business to make from sale of goods and services. There are two main components of the estimated revenue: sales forecast and estimated cost of goods sold or services. So don't get confused here. The sales forecast basically has to do with the gross revenue, your gross revenue. That's like the 500,000 invoice you issue out, then estimated cost of goods sold is, I call it incidental cost. It's an incidental cost because it's a cost that you have to incur in order to generate this revenue. So it's a direct cost to revenue. So without that cost, without incurring that cost, you cannot generate the revenue. Just like cost of production, if you don't produce shoes, you cannot sell shoes. So when you deduct these direct costs, so cost of goods sold or goods and services sold is also the same direct cost. When you deduct direct cost from your sales forecast, from your gross revenue, it gives you your net revenue. Please let's go to the next slide. I believe you guys understand that. This next slide. Then of estimated revenue framework. Who pays? Of course, the people that pay you, that the customers, your end users, your company, or a company rather. Who pays rather? Who is paid? What is paid rather? Money is paid eventually. That's the end goal. For what is this paid for? Products such as dressing, shoes, services such as advertising, writing, and so on. How much is paid? Your payments could be fixed, your payments could be variable. How are you paid? Your payments could be one-off or a recurring payments. Recurring payments are usually under subscriptions. So those are like the estimated revenue, the kind of revenue framework. Please, next slide. So for the fixed costs are the consistent and recurring expenses that must be paid every month and are necessary to keep the business running. So fixed costs are costs that you have to keep. And the business, that the cost that actually keeps the business operational activities. They are the costs that you cannot do without. That you cannot do without. So fixed costs are like examples of fixed costs are like your salaries, your rent, your insurance, and some other operational costs, maybe internet. You have to incur these costs to keep the business running. You cannot run your business if you don't get an office space, except to choose to go digital. You cannot run your business if you have people that are working for you and you're not paying their salaries. Of course, you have to pay them, you understand, so keep them on the business to help you generate revenue. The fixed cost can be very high or quite low, depending on the nature of your business. For example, your business involved naturally manufacturing is likely to have higher fixed costs and the rest. The variable costs are the same as the name suggests, costs that vary. Variable costs vary with the level of output. So variable costs are costs that would usually change with the level of output. They are not fixed. Okay, they would move, such as your inventory, your supplies, your packaging, and all of those things. Of course, your inventory will vary with the level of output. If customers are requesting for 20 inventories in this month, you provide it to them. Next month is not the possibility that they request for 20 of your stock items is actually not there. They might actually request for lower or lesser. So these are costs that vary. So there are costs that actually like there are costs that you have to like that changes, like they change rather with the level of output. There are costs that change with the level of output rather. Please next slide. So I already given you the explanation, the difference between fixed and variable costs. Fixed costs are costs that you'd have to incur to remain in business, whether business generating revenue or not, you have to incur this cost. Variable costs are costs that are related to volume. They change with the level of output. They are costs that they're not fixed. Please next slide. I'm sorry, I'm trying to run because of time. One-time expenses. Here, I would call it one-time expenses and capital expenditure. One-time expenses are expenses that are not recurring. You understand? They happen once. And just a perfect example of a one-time expense is like when you want to establish your business, there are some costs you have to incur, and you don't have to incur it for till eternity. For example, you want to establish a business, you have to do cost of registration, you have to pay CAC, Corporate Advice Commission, to establish your business. For example, if you're in Nigeria, if you're in South Africa, you have to register with CIPC, companies and intellectual property. For in Kenya, you have to register with their own companies and affairs there. So things like that. So these are one-off costs. And of course, there's some capital costs. What are capital costs? Capital costs are costs that are capable of generating future economic benefits to the organization or to you. For example, your motor vehicle is a capital cost. Your land and building is a capital cost. your furnitures and fittings, they are capital costs. So these are costs, and there's every possibility that maybe when you buy your land and your furniture and fittings, but you might not buy it again. These are one-off costs. And of course, that's one of costs that's good. Let me take you there with my map. Might probably do that in another session. So there are some costs that would actually sit on your balance sheet as an asset, because they will generate a future of economic benefits to your business or to you. And there are costs that will sit on your balance sheet. So you have to write them off immediately. They're like expenses. For example, your CAC registration cost, or your cost of buying or wiring or buying cleaning equipment, or cost of all those costs. They are not assets. So you cannot put them on the face of the balance sheet. And please, next. Then cash flow. Cash flow is the movement of money in and out of the company. Cash receipts signifies inflows and cash spend signifies outflows. I already explained that. Cash flow can be positive and can also be negative. Positive cash flow means the company has more money moving into it than out of it. One negative cash flow indicates the company has more money moving out of it than into it. Please, next slide. So this is a cash flow cycle. Inflow, cash paid by customers, outflow, cash paid to suppliers and employees. So under the inflow, so stocks ordered from supplier. Of course, you are ordering stocks from your supplier, so cash will really go out of your company. Customers pay you for purchases, cash will come into your company. Production turns stocks into products. Stocks held on to customers are found. Products sold to customers. So these are like cash. These are like major things like that's not the key cash flow cycle, but these are the major things that of course would either tie cash down or like would facilitate or enhance movement of cash around an entity. Please, next slide. Or for an individual. Then
Hi, Aminat.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, I'm cutting in. Because of time, I don't know if you just want to take questions, or I'm sure people might have one or two that they want you to address before.
All right.
Because we're already overshot our time.
Okay. Although we're already rounding up, but it's okay. I can take questions.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know if anyone has a question that they would like to ask. So while we wait for people, I had one while you were going through the presentation. I was just wondering, personally, some of the terms that you were mentioning sounded big, right? And I think it goes back to the earlier question. And again, knowing that not everyone on the call is running a business. Some people are employees. So how do we apply this to our personal endeavors?
Okay, Princess, please take us to the last slide. Or is it the last?
So if there's any other person that has question, you can use the hand raise icon and I'll bring you up.
So that takes us to personal budgets, right? So whenever someone walks up to me to ask me about personal budgets, how do I manage my money? I spend so much, I do this, I do that. The first question I would ask them is, okay, do you know the things you spend your money on? Do you know the things that you can actually not do without? Do you know all of those things? Okay, itemize them. So one thing is for personal budget is that fine, it's not as strict or as rigid. Not, I won't call it rigid. It's not as cumbersome as that of a corporate budget. It's really pretty straightforward and just requires discipline and following it judiciously. So if you want to do your personal budget, the first thing I always tell people is that you should identify your expenditure. So basically you will have to that will be a combination of your needs and your wants. The next thing is that I always tell people to differentiate, to define their needs and their wants, because oftentimes people I don't know if someone is talking.
No one is talking. Can go ahead, please.
Okay. So identify their needs from their wants. So because oftentimes when people set out their personal budgets, they just model the entire thing and think of. They don't know the difference between what they need and what they want. So it's always very important. Once you itemize everything that you feel you crave for in this universe, in this life, just try as much as possible. After doing that, that gives you a clear view of what exactly you want to do or you need to do, then define what you want and define what you need. What you need are things and necessities, like you must do them. What you want are just basic desires, like you do not necessarily have to get it. There are things that can actually wait, they are not pressing. There are things that you can actually do without, like you cannot even die, like you will do fine without. So it's very important to separate these two items. Separate your needs from your wants. Once you set that list for yourself, once you do that, then focus on the needs and not the wants. Once you focus on the needs and not the wants, then you identify your various sources of income. As an individual, you probably earn income from a stable income, probably from your 9-to-5 job. You might have a side hustle. Just itemize all of those income. Put that aside. Understand this. Then specify out of this income that you have, specify how much you want to set out as savings. Oh, out of this money, I'll put out 20% as my savings. No touch, I won't go there, I won't touch it. Put that aside. Then from the balance, use the balance to plug the needs, like that's the expenditure of the needs that you want to achieve, the necessities. Use the balance to like plug the necessities into the balance. Of course, while doing that, you might have, I need to bring in expenses, I need to do this. You have some of the things, let's say you have 5 line items. Of these 5 line items, set out a 6th line item that would talk about contingency. What are contingencies? Contingencies are basically things that emergency rather. These are things that you do not foresee, things that you are not expecting. Make provisions for it. At least set aside 15%, at least, or 10% for contingency. Like, put this amount aside, or this amount in case anything happens. Once you put that amount for contingency, have it at the back of your mind. There are 2 things you can actually do. That contingent amount, you can say, okay, a certain percentage would go into contingent needs. But some things that will come to play that are contingent needs. Then you can now say, okay, my cheat period. Your cheat period will probably now be like, okay, these are the ones I listed. That's the list of ones you kept aside before. You can now probably, you understand, just your cheat period so that at least you can get one of those things that you want. But then prioritize contingent needs over wants before. Don't go for your wants before your contingent needs. So the same way on regular needs are important, the same way your contingent needs you need to pay attention to your budget. Then finally, it's actually possible. So it's actually possible, right, that after you set your budget, that sometimes that's really come. Okay, some things will really come to play, some things that you did not expect that would actually want to and you really need to do it. And probably because your budget is already choked or something. Only touch your savings for something critical, and there's something that's like an investment. Don't touch your savings when you don't have to touch it. So indirectly, your savings is also part of your personal budget. See, when you are building your budget, see your savings as a cost. As a line item for your cost. So we are being able to add this amount to savings. But then only touch your savings. Don't think about your savings at any point. Only touch your savings when you need to do it. And whatever you use your savings to do should be something that will generate future economic cash flow. If not future economic cash flow, something that will generate future economic benefits, which could be in kind. It could be education. That's
Anat, your last question actually got me thinking about, so how do you set up your budgets in such a way that it actually helps you to create wealth rather than just save money?
It helps you to create what?
Wealth rather than just saving money.
Okay, yes. So oftentimes, right, when you put money aside, right, it depends on your risk appetite. Some people are risk averse and some people are risk seekers. So oftentimes when you set your personal budget and you put your savings aside, it's always very important to allow your savings to work for you. Work for you in the sense that you can actually look for something that if you are one person that if you are a risk seek, or if you are risk averse, you feel reluctant to invest your money in anything, you can actually look for a very conservative like investment plan that you can put your money in. They're like nice ones, or you understand, or probably lock it in a kind of like emergency fund somewhere that will be generating at least some amount of returns, at least regardless of the amount. At least you know that the money is not sitting high, it's bringing in something to you. And I think I don't, at least for, I don't know, but some people here, I know Cowrywise does that. They have different mutual funds that you can actually invest in. I think PiggyVest also has that. ARA Money Market Fund is actually one place I would also recommend to people as well. I think their fund currently now is trading at like 9 point something, and yes, per annum, and it's something that you can try out. Any amount you can put it there.
Okay, thank you, Aminat. Thank you. I see Christine's question on budgeting for black tax. I think black tax is something that in the community we've been discussing. It's come up in past sessions as well. And if I remember, we have a session coming hopefully planned to address that. And the economy to offer. Yes, we are our saving app actually allows you to save, and it allows you save, right? So if you're not on the app, you can head to the Play Store or iOS store and download it's Herconomy, HERCONOMY, and you get started. It's very easy. The tech team have made the onboarding process super easy. And yes, so thank you, Aminat, for the session. I had one more question, but because of time, we're already about 90 minutes past our time, so I'll just hold my question for now, and hopefully it can be addressed at some other occasion. I think at this point I want to thank the sports team for the session tonight, and for also agreeing to share the slides with the participants. And I also want to thank everyone, especially the people who have stayed this far. It's been a pleasure having you. So I think quickly, just to show our appreciation in the chat, you can drop in the chat box. Let me see. Yeah, thank you, Tolu. Yeah, amazing presentation. Yes, I agree. I got one or two new things. Thank you, Tolu. Tolu is saying thank you. So let's keep it coming. So it's been wonderful. Thank you, Aminat, also, especially for running us through. I'm sure you came in last minute. I understand. Yes. So again, every participant will get the slides, and we'll take it up from there. So as always, you can go to our website, www.herconomy.com, to catch up on past sessions or on the YouTube page. And Christina said you can email finance@sports.group if you have any questions. If there's anything that was not clear in the course of the presentation, or any problem that you have generally, you can send it to finance@sports.group, and I'm sure someone would reach out to you to answer your questions. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure doing this. So we'll meet again in 2 weeks, as always. So we couldn't get the website. Okay, www.herconomy.com. So I'll quickly drop that in the chat. Quickly drop that. Okay, so that is it. You head there, you find previous sessions as well as the YouTube page, same name, Herconomy, across all social media platforms. Herconomy. You can also follow Sports on Instagram. It's at Sport, right? SPURT. Christine, please confirm that the handle is correct. Okay, at Sports Solution is in the chat. Also follow Sports on Instagram, and follow us also at Herconomy. So thank you once again, everyone. hopefully within the next 24 to 48 hours, this recording will be up, and you can always go back to catch up on it, either on our site or on Sports portal. They would also have access to it. So thank you, everyone. Have a great night rest.